Most politicians spend their lives trying to get into the room. Nancy Pelosi was born in it. She didn't learn politics, she inherited it, like a family business, except the family business was the Baltimore Democratic machine, and her father, Big Tommy D'Alessandro, ran it like a mob boss with a congressional pin on his lapel. City councilman, 5-term congressman, mayor of Baltimore, and according to his own FBI file, publicly linked to local mafia figures, his FBI file. Her father had an FBI file, and when Nancy was growing up, the mayor's house in Baltimore's Little Italy was not a home, it was a headquarters. Constituents lined up outside their front door every single day asking for favors, jobs, help with the city, access to power, and Big Tommy delivered, or he didn't. Nancy Pelosi grew up watching all of it from the front row. She didn't read about how power works. She watched it being dispensed from her living room before she was old enough to drive. So she goes to college in Washington, D.C., meets Paul Pelosi, gets married, moves to San Francisco, has 5 kids in 6 years, and disappears. But here's what she's actually doing. Fundraisers, making phone calls for other people's campaigns. Every favor she does, she remembers. Every donor she calls, she remembers. Every candidate she helps, she remembers. She is compiling a database, and she is doing it in a city that is about to become one of the most important in the country.
I was born in it, molded by it.
It's in her DNA, man. By 1976, she's on the Democratic National Committee. By 1981, she's chairing the entire California Democratic Party. She was never the candidate. She was the person the candidates needed, until the moment she decided to become the candidate herself. 1987. Sala Burton is on her deathbed. She holds the San Francisco congressional seat inherited from her husband, Phil Burton, the most powerful liberal in California politics. And before she dies, she calls Nancy Pelosi and says, "Promise me you'll run for this seat." A dying woman chose her out of everyone in San Francisco, out of everyone in California, out of the entire Democratic Party apparatus on the West Coast. Pelosi enters a 14-way race. She outspends all 13 opponents combined. She has the machine, and she barely wins. Her first election by a sliver. Her last close election ever. When she walks into Congress in 1987, she already knows roughly half the Democratic delegation by name. She spends the next 15 years doing the things she's always done. Counting, not speeches, not cable news hits, not branding. Counting votes, favors, relationships. Who needs what it costs, what they'll owe after. Days, months, years of this pays off, leads her to become minority leader. In 2003, the first woman to lead a political party in Congress. And in 2007, after engineering a Democratic takeover of the House that everyone said couldn't be done, she becomes Speaker, the first female Speaker of the House. But here's the thing, Nancy didn't calculate. The internet, the World Wide Web. You see, she was an operator, power broker for so long behind the scenes, but now she was in the limelight. Every move she makes was going to be seen. People were waiting for one slip. People weren't just watching anymore. They were connecting dots, and eventually, they started looking at the dots on her brokerage account.
And now we owe to the American people our very best.
Sorry, Nancy, you got some explaining to do.
The Wolf of Washington could be in big trouble. Investigators might finally get a peek inside Nancy and Paulie P's earnings sheets.
When you work in an investment bank, when you work as an investor, so many restrictions when it comes to personal investments. But these people, lawmakers, these are policymakers, policies that directly influence the way business is done all over the country. How is this even remotely legal?
This was one of the most disappointing and maybe, to put it even less politely, disgraceful comments and views I have heard espoused on this issue, and surprising given Pelosi's views on many other issues.
Apparently, the stock trading prowess of the Pelosi family is so widely known that there is an X account called the Nancy Pelosi Stock Tracker. Close to 900,000 followers can keep tabs on what the Pelosis are buying and selling, presumably in order to copycat their own way to financial success.
Hold on, wait. You're saying I can follow this account and get rich? Paul Pelosi is a venture capitalist, a very experienced investor. He manages the family's brokerage activity. Nancy handles Washington. A power duo, some say like Shaq and Kobe. The Pelosi family net worth now over $200 million. Let's look at some of the trades. December 2020. Paul Pelosi purchases 25 call options for Tesla worth up to $1 million. Weeks later, in January 2021, the incoming Biden administration announces plans to electrify the federal vehicle fleet. Tesla stock soars. June 2022, Paul Pelosi exercises options to buy 20,000 shares of NVIDIA. He already held 5,000 shares from an earlier purchase. That summer, Congress is working on the CHIPS Act, a major subsidy package for the U.S. semiconductor industry. NVIDIA is one of the primary beneficiaries. July 1st, 2024, Paul Pelosi sold 2,000 shares of Visa, valued between $500,000 and $1 million. September 24th, 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice filed a civil antitrust lawsuit against Visa. Visa's stock fell more than 5% after the lawsuit was announced. The Pelosi portfolio beat the S&P 500 by 46 points in 2024 alone, gaining 70.9% versus the market's 25%. Now here's the thing. I'm not saying Nancy did anything wrong.
Not really. Maybe. It's classified.
The pressure built on Pelosi for years. Multiple bills were introduced to ban congressional stock trading. Nancy Pelosi opposed them, loudly, clearly, on camera. She said members of Congress should be able to participate in the free market. The free market! The free market that she and her colleagues legislate from the inside. Then something happened. Senator Josh Hawley introduced a bill to ban congressional stock trading. He named it the Pelosi Act. My guy really called it the Pelosi Act, the Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments Act. And Nancy Pelosi, 84 years old, 40 years in Congress, the woman who tore up a president's speech on national television, looked at a bill named after her to stop doing the things she said she wasn't doing anyway, and reversed her position. She endorsed the ban. This is her legacy. She bawled so hard they tried to name a bill after her.